F4 Thailand has reached its mid-season. Let's take a look at all of the symbols we've seen thus far. Tom's sign is Gemini, the house of sharing and fraternal order, associated with communication, development, siblings, and ephemera. We see some of these traits in the way that buying and giving things is Tom's love language. In the story, Tom acts as the king. He risks falling into the immature state of the high chair tyrant, but if he works on himself, he is on the path of the divine child, destined to be the finger of God, who translates the will of the cosmos into the laws of the land.
ฉันเกิดมายิ่งใหญ่แล้วก็พิเศษกว่าใคร
Tom is our hero in this tale, on a quest to find himself as well as a bride to help him to rule the kingdom. Tom is often wearing animal prints and skins, symbolizing his beastly nature. Because his kingdom is cursed, Tom is a beast who is destined to be transformed. Tom's flower is the black rose, but will likely transition into a red rose at the end of his journey, as the color red seems to symbolize his true self. When Tom is wearing black and white, he is at a major decision point in his journey. When he is wearing other colors, it represents how he is being affected by those around him. Tom is often wearing a thick chain around his neck, symbolizing his beast-like nature. Ren's sign is Aries, the house of self, associated with spirit, ego, outlook, and initiatives. Ren's flower is the white cutter, symbolizing charm and patience. In the story, Ren acts as the lover, as Lancelot to Tom's King Arthur. As the lover, Ren risks falling into the immature state of the dreamer, and he seeks the love of a woman who can nurture him. Ren also helps support Tom through challenging him.
ถ้ามึงไม่อยากไปอ่ะกูไปแทนก็ได้นะ
If Tom fails in his quest to wed Goya, Ren is always waiting in the wings.
แต่ถ้ามึงกลับไปเดินผิดทางอีกอ่ะครั้งนี้กูไม่ถอยมึงแล้วนะ
So Tom must always try his hardest. Ren is often wearing neutral colors, but his true self is reflected in the color blue. When he shows up in patterns or this colorful shirt, it shows maybe he's not acting as his true self at the moment. Gawain's sign is Sagittarius, the house of purpose or philosophy, associated with passage, law, knowledge, and things long-term. Gawain's flower is hydrangea, which often symbolizes abundance, sincerity, and heartlessness. In the story, Gawain acts as the court magician, constantly reminding the king of what he needs to do next, and giving advice on what the smart decision would be.
แต่ช่วงนี้มึงก็ทำอะไรระวังหน่อยแล้วกัน
ถ้าเธอโกนหัวตัวเองซะ
เฮ้ยถาม
Gawain relies on his power of wit and his ability to manipulate either through flirting
ให้พี่ช่วยสอนเปล่า
or simply using the power of status and money. He is often in charge of collecting intelligence for the group. He is often wearing light colors that reflect what those around him are wearing, showing his will to adapt. Gawain also wears Maison Kitsune, or the House of Kitsune, a kitsune being a nine-tailed fox, a mythical trickster who can change its appearance and is often associated with seduction. Gawain and Hanning even go to Cafe Kitsune for their first outing. MJ's sign is Pisces, the house of sacrifice, associated with seclusion, luck, cleansing, forgiveness, and finality. MJ's flower is an iris, which often symbolizes wisdom, friendship, and clarity. In the story, MJ acts as the court's warrior. Although he solves things in a swift and quiet manner, he acts as the strong arm of the F4. He is also associated with the moon, which balances and cleanses, keeping the group together. He is often wearing black and silver sparkles. Both Gawain and MJ act as threshold guardians, always seen next to each other and warning Tom of the consequences of passing them, of what lies beyond them. Both of their signs, Sagittarius and Pisces, are ruled by Jupiter, which stands for supportive friends and allies. The F4 altogether represent the four main masculine archetypes: king, warrior, magician, lover, that are within every masculine individual. And they are actively influencing our heroine, Goya, which she will use to find her inner queen, warrior, magician, and lover. The F4 reside in the cursed court as knights next to their king. The court watches as the king and his knights make judgments on the citizens of the kingdom. The red card notice has 4 Fs on it, symbolizing each member, and acts as a dark spot on the receiver.
It's the spot, Jim. It's the black spot, lad. You have till 10 o'clock.
In the F4, you have 2 fire signs, a water sign, and an air sign. The only thing missing is Earth. Goya's sign is Virgo, an Earth sign, the house of health, associated with service, courage, fertility, and agriculture. Goya's name literally means clump of grass, and she is symbolized as a weed or dandelion seeds spreading all over, showing how she is encouraging growth all over. Goya wears a lot of neutral colors, but the color representing her true self seems to be green. She's often dressed in clothes that make her appear as a gardener. Her parents become farmers on an orchard, and for some reason, Goya's weapon of choice is a shovel. She must tend the celestial garden with the 4 flowers, helping them to grow. Goya's love language is acts of service. Goya acts as Cinderella when anyone gives her shoes or a dress so that she can make it to the ball. She acts as Belle when she is taming the beast. Although she starts as a damsel or a shrew, she is developing into a queen. Goya's journey thus far fits the cycle of the heroine's journey. She's been taken out of innocence, identified with the masculine, learned the rules of the boys' club, has been initiated into their world, has faced tests and trials. There's still more to come, such as finding her inner goddess and healing the wounded masculine. Goya is also a star bride. In mythology, star brides can be both celestial beings that fall to earth to look for a mate and mortal beings that marry a celestial being. Star brides are hunted by the mate, and they often have to dig into the earth, the act of doing so representing the important balance between the celestial bodies and agriculture. Goya and Tom's story is very similar to Eros and Psyche, where Eros, the winged god, is sent by his mother to shoot Psyche with an arrow so that she may fall in love with something hideous. But Eros accidentally scratches himself with his own arrow, consequently falling in love with Psyche. Eros then takes Psyche to his world. Every night he visits her, but he forbids her to look at him. One night she chooses to disobey. She holds a light up to him, expecting to find a monster, but instead she finds a beautiful man. Startled by his beauty, she accidentally wounds herself on one of his arrows, falling deeply in love with him. Feeling betrayed, Eros flees back to his mother. Only through tests and trials and prove herself worthy of Eros in his mother's eyes. Author Robert Johnson says that Eros is a woman's animus who is being strengthened, healed, brought out of his boyish, trickster characteristics, and made into a mature man worthy of being her mate. They essentially change and redeem each other.
ให้เธอเป็นคนที่ยอมรับฉันไม่ใช่ปารามานั้น
Tom's mother, Rosalind, is associated with chess. The floors in their home are a chessboard, and Rosalind is always in white because white always moves first. Rosalind sees Goya as a tulip and looks down on her because she thinks tulips are weak and feminine and that Goya is overvalued, using the example of tulip mania to make this point.
จากดอกไม้ที่มูลค่าสูงที่สุดชั่วข้ามคืนทุกอย่างก็เปลี่ยนไป
Rosalind's outfits have sharp masculine lines, and she always towers over everyone, even as she sits. Haning's color appears to be yellow, and she is often associated with daisies, which symbolize purity, innocence, and new beginnings. When Gawain is around Haning, he wears soft colors, and their relationship revolves around the image of a teddy bear, which could mean that Gawain needs to learn to not treat women like dolls, or could also mean that Gawain is a bear, cute on the outside, but dangerous if messed with. Hana's character acts as the wicked witch who poisons the prince instead of the princess, and Tom becomes a sleeping beauty. Hana is associated with mirrors, glass, and the color purple. She wears Tom's color red when she is trying to seduce him, but when that doesn't work, she wears Goya's color green. Lita is introduced wearing a white dress covered in colorful hearts and the word love. She is also wearing Nike shoes, the goddess of victory. In the story, Lita acts as Aphrodite, the goddess of love who interrupts the union of Eros and Psyche. Rin foretells Lita's arrival.
คนใหญ่คนโตเขาก็มากันหมด
แต่กูว่าปีนี้แม่งแปลกๆว่ะ
And he draws her as a meteor, crashing into the green bridge, which symbolizes Goya. Tom and Goya mirror the wealth and status obstacles in Pride and Prejudice between Darcy and Elizabeth. They have external challenges that represent the establishment or the old way of doing things. Lady Catherine and Rosaline both use their social status, snobbery, and money to intimidate and challenge the lovers in key moments. There is forced marital union to reaffirm control of the male lead and maintain the wealth and social power. Through this trial, Goya and Elizabeth prove their worthiness and self-respect by thwarting this dominating matriarch. When they reaffirm themselves, Tom or Darcy gain confidence that their eventual pursuit will be successful. In the face of overwhelming obstacles of social, financial, and the established power of both Lady Catherine and Rosaline, love wins and makes you stronger than before. This allows for a new era to begin. That triumph makes both stories transcendent and satisfying. Shoes are very important.
ไอ้รองเท้าคู่นี้อะลูกมันจะพาลูกเนี่ยไปหาที่ดีๆที่มันซ่อนอยู่จนเจอ
When Goya's shoe is destroyed by Tom, she uses that same shoe to imprint on him. Her brother drew flowers on her shoe, but they look like meteors from the side. Again, this symbolizes how Goya is as much of a star bride as she is a weed. The shoes that Mira gives Goya are her Cinderella slippers. Notice the red, Tom's color, on the soles. She doesn't wear them until she feels worthy enough to do so. Being a beast, Tom has several animals associated with him. We often hear dogs whimpering when Tom feels ashamed.
ยื่นหมูยื่น
He often wears tiger or leopard print. Animals that have these sort of prints still have the print even when they are shaved. So even when Tom takes off his animal skins, he will still retain the beastly part of himself. When Tom removes his animal skins, it's a sign that he is being vulnerable. The beast is basically his shadow, which he must incorporate into his true self so that it does not suddenly rear its ugly head. With Goya's help, he can tame that part of himself. Tom is also the honey badger, an animal that is cute on the outside, but is also one of the most vicious and dangerous creatures. Tom is also represented in birds, and Goya is reminded of Tom when she sees the pigeons, birds that mate for life. F4 Thailand presents an anti-patriarchal story that gives a roadmap for men to return to wholeness. Bell Hooks tells us that boys and men have been programmed from birth on to believe that at some point they must be violent, whether psychologically or physically, to prove that they are men. Many mothers in patriarchy practice emotionally mutilating their sons, like Tom. Ultimately, the men who choose against violence, against death, do so because they want to live fully and well, because they want to know love. This quest for integrity is the heroic journey that can heal the masculinity crisis and prepare the hearts of men to give and receive love. This show is not only overflowing with symbols that speak to the main themes of love, change, integrity, and growing up. This is essentially a feminist tale. While Goya must learn her own power, Tom must unlearn his and discover something even more powerful beyond it.
โอ้ยอะไรเนี่ย โอ้ยมันเจ็บอ่ะไอ้ทาง
เธอไงฮะแต่ก็หยุดพูดได้แล้ว
If you want to learn more about the fairy tales, the symbolisms, the metaphors that we've been seeing in F4 Thailand so far, you can check out our show F4 Obsessed, where we've talked about this stuff for hours and hours. Thanks so much for watching. Cheers.